Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the ABC Network, with your host, Hurricane H. Today's guest is Dr. Michael Guadagnino, a chiropractic physician, lifelong health advocate, and a best-selling author of Fitness Over 50, 60, 70, and Beyond. That's good stuff. With over 30 years of clinical experience and a background in biology, Dr. Guadagnino has dedicated his career to helping people stay strong, mobile, and independent at every stage of life. His journey began early through martial arts, one of my favorite things, where earning a black belt instilled discipline, resilience, and a lifelong commitment to movement and health. Throughout his career, he's seen too many people actually accept pain, medications, and inactivity as a normal part of aging, and he is here to change that narrative. His mission is simple: empower people, take control of their health, move better, feel stronger, and live longer, more active lives. If you're ready to rethink aging and reclaim your vitality, this show is for you. Dr. Michael Guadagnino, welcome to the show. Or shall I call you Dr. G?
Either is fine. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it is an honor, and you know what? I mean, just small introduction, a lot of stuff in there. I mean, first of all, aging is a big deal. Everybody
Mhm.
ages. It's kind of like the rule of this world that we live in, right? And but how you age is a key. How we live through those decades that come later, and a lot for those of us who may have that privilege, because I mean, unfortunately, some people don't make it to that
Yeah.
time frame. But we hope that more. And I guess today, with medicine and everything, we do have a little bit of a longevity that is in place. So the good news is, yeah, you live long, but how do you leave it? But before we get into all that good stuff, there's one thing I have to ask. I mentioned martial arts. That's like my life too. I've been doing it since I was 9, so that's
Nice.
over 40 years plus. So I enjoy any particular art that's worth mentioning. Uh, that you've enjoyed, or you've done a mixture of all the arts.
No, I've pretty much done karate and Shorin-ryu, which is an Okinawan discipline. I started when I was 6. I got my black belt when I was younger. I trained pretty steadily through college, and then with pre-med, and it just kind of I couldn't get to the dojo as often. I still practice it on my own. I've always practiced it. I've always been into fitness and health. Also played sports along the way, but yeah, I mean, then we sent my daughter was wanted to do karate, so she did the same discipline. She became a secondary black belt. She studied all through high school. And she was a college soccer player, so she again the same type of thing. You just can't. It's hard nowadays to kind of do everything. So you do it on your own. So to answer your question, yes, I still practice. I got my bag in the basement where I hit it at least a couple times a week, and I'm still training. And I really feel that martial arts actually to go off a bit. I think martial arts doing it at a young age, the discipline, the study, the exercise really helps set the foundation for where I am today.
Well, thank you, Doc. The reason I kind of mentioned that is just because I know for a fact to me too. I mean, same thing. I mean, I've started.
Yeah.
You were earlier than me. I started at
Yeah.
9, but it stays with you for life. And I've actually I didn't stop. I continued and still practice. I started with Doshodokan for a while until the black belt level. Then I kind of moved on into Taekwondo, and then I went to Shinobiru or Bujikan, or there's different names for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but it's jujitsu, all kind of stuff, Aikido, all that stuff. But it's all fun stuff, and you're right. The discipline part of it comes, and it helps you in every aspect of life. As a matter of fact, whatever you learn there, you can actually apply. The bag is like whatever I go, I find a bag, I'm already on it.
Right.
And you get a little steam out. It gives you like a little, stress down, and but it's a good thing. You also have the confidence part and everything. Your field of work is very stressful. I mean, medicine is no picnic, and it's just a tough life, especially I mean going to school and all the stuff.
Mhm.
So it's a big deal. But for people that audiences are watching, and I do have to say this, I have seen martial artists that are in the 80s and 90s, and they still look, fine in shape and
Mhm.
really, live a good life. And I think there is no coincidence there. So let's deep dive now in you're a chiropractor, your primary work,
Mhm.
right? So
Correct.
so so let's talk a little bit about that, because that is also a very important work. There's a lot of stuff. Most people think it just lets manipulate the spine, and that's chiropractic.
It's not. Yeah. I
Exactly.
think that they
So,
need to
so
crack you and get out of there. That's not at all. Yeah.
yeah. Well, so doctor, if you just, for those that may not be acquainted with the work that you do, can you just share with us a little bit about that type of medicine and what it does and the different types and how it aligns with overall health, and then we can deep dive into the work and the book and all the good stuff.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. I was pre-med. My major was biology, and I followed a pre-med course. So I completed my 4 years of pre-med at New York Institute of Technology, and I got applied to and approved and accepted into chiropractic college. That was a 3+ year, almost 4 year education. So it's like 7.5 years or so of education. You have to pass boards, state boards, local boards, federal boards. So I've taken about 5 or 6 different boards just to get your license. Yeah. So it's not like just go. I had
Not
someone
easy.
say to me, yeah, I had someone who was a bit crass say to me, "Oh, I got my chiropractic certificate." It's not that. It's you have to follow a path. Now, after I got that, led me in that direction because I was in pre med. I have friends who are medical doctors, friends who are podiatrists, and what led me in this direction is that going back to the karate, the athletics, the training I always did was always into more natural health and keeping myself healthy, even as someone who's in high school and someone who's in college. And I wanted to continue along that. That was my pathway. That's where I wanted to follow. So I wanted to take care of people in that natural way. Is there a need for medicine and surgery? Of course there is. Even in my practice, if a patient comes in and I realize they need something further, I'll send them to the surgeon. I'll send them to where they need to go. So I wanted to follow that path of more of a natural health. So what I do most of my practice is dealing with people with slip discs in their lower back, musculoskeletal injuries. That's a lot of the chiropractic work that I do, and we do it on more of a natural way, whether that includes manipulation, whether that includes different types of therapies. I have a huge machine in my office, which I've been doing this treatment for about 20 years, which helps people with the slip discs. It's called a DRX 9000. It's a non-surgical decompression type of machine. It helps prevent people from having to go to surgery. Once you cut, you can't uncut. I'm not sure, you try everything first. And I have several medical doctors who not only refer patients to me for this type of work. I've actually had medical doctors on the machine. So I'm part of the whole system where I have a good network of people, a good network of patients, and my primary thing is taking care of people naturally, helping people try to let their bodies heal themselves. And again, medicine and surgery are needed. Sometimes we co-treat. Sometimes someone might need a type of a medicine to help them with the pain to get them through what I'm going to do. So that's the basis of my practice. My practice is basically it's a natural healthcare based musculoskeletal. I deal with a lot of athletes. I deal with a lot of older people, seniors. I deal with a good mix of people who want to get better naturally, not live their lives on drugs and heading towards surgery. I mean, if they need it, they need it. They don't need it. Let's try something first. Because, like I said, once you cut, you can't uncut. So that's the basis of my practice.
Well, thank you, Doug. Well, let's just, expand a little bit on that, meaning that, you know, obviously it's a natural process. You kind of prevent, the idea of surgery until it is really the ultimate choice. I mean, certainly there's a point where you have to go that way. To your point, once it's cut, there's no it's not reversible. It happens and you have to deal
Yeah.
with it, for life, right? And especially when talking about spine and neck surgeries and all the stuff and but so you it's funny because we started a discussion with karate and martial arts and athletics. Athletics in general, I mean, comes with big time injuries. So you mentioned, you deal with a lot of people, but just to bring some of the audiences, to the level here with the types of injuries you've seen, because I'm sure there's a variety of those things, and the intensity can be from minor to major stuff. What are some of the causes, maybe some preventative things? And I know we're going to talk more, I guess, as we discuss the book into like what to do to avoid all this stuff. But what are some of the things that you've experienced throughout the work that you've done that could have possibly been preventable, prevented, and or not even, I guess, there in the first place. Yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah, when it comes to sports injuries, I'm going to generalize here. A lot of them come down to two. Majority of them, not all, the majority of them are two reasons. not warming up properly, and overuse. Those are two really big things. Most athletes, when they're younger, they just get on the field. You see in the gym, you got the young guys in there, they just get on the bench and just start throwing up the weight, the bench. When you're older, you can't do that. So as you age, you can't do that. You need to stretch. You need to loosen your joints up, your muscles up, and kind of move from there. That's where a lot of times that's where you get your pulled hamstrings, your pulled muscles. Overuse is very common. We see that in pitchers. We see that in quarterbacks. We see that even in karate. You can get tendonitis in your knees and your hips, your overuse, and knowing how to dial it back or doing something auxiliary to do the same type of training. So those are two of the very common things. My daughter, like I said, was a soccer player. I've treated a lot of soccer players with leg injuries, calf strains, hamstrings, pulled groins. Treated a lot of that. Some of the old, I've actually dealt with some older people with develop rotator cuff injuries from overuse.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's and there are different types of treatments that I do. I do again. We joked earlier that a lot of people think chiropractic is just basically cracking. I mean, there's you're not going to crack a tendonitis. There's still cracking what you could, but you can help align a joint. You could help work that tendon. You could help just do some different type of treatments to help with the inflammation, and then give them a rehab program to begin back up and build back up so they can get back to where they were prior. So that's sports injuries. I say a lot of it comes down to really two major. Obviously, there's impact injuries, but I'm just talking about in general. The two are lack of stretching prior, warming up, and overuse. That's two big keys.
Thank you, Doc. And you mentioned, that when we're young, we tend to just, we got this, we're invincible.
Yeah.
we're I don't know, Terminators. We can go in there and just keep pumping and push it. And I see people in the gym like, oh my God, what are you doing? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, do you really need that weight? I mean, unless you're going to some sort of a competition where you have to actually chisel up and buff up to a point, it's not what you need. But again, to each his own. People, you can sometimes talk to people, at
Oh
those
yeah,
things
yeah. A
that
funny quick,
they get it. Yeah, go ahead.
a quick story. And a funny story on that is when I was in college, I used to work out in the only way to describe it as a biker gym. I was in college. You had no money, so there was a gym close by, and it was a biker gym, and the place was nothing but bikers. It was just this huge facility. It was great people. Weights were just all over the place. It was just, and they used to get on the bar, and they would just throw up the high, and they were very competitive with each other. They just throw up as much weight as they possibly could. And I was into my job, but I enjoyed being in that atmosphere, and I couldn't keep up with these guys at all. But it was just fun to watch, and they just say they're just in the gym. They're just working hard, working just to see how much weight we can get up there, and that's it. So,
Well, Doctor, it's funny because, people think that's okay. We can push and we do that. And yes, you're going to build the muscles, you're going to build up. But, you know, the muscle is one thing, but obviously tears that can happen and all the stuff. But then you have your joints and, all these other things that complement the workout that can be damaged. And sometimes it could be really just bad. And now you lose all that and you can't even go back to the gym. Even with rehab and therapy can be very, that's it. That's the end of the line. Now,
it's frustrating. Yeah.
well, you're going to need your health eventually, but if you can't
Mhm.
work out, you can't do certain things. I mean, now you're going to gain weight, the movement may not be there, and everything else is going to happen. So you actually destroying your chances to live a healthier, more vital life, as you age. So let's talk about the importance. I mean, first of all, you mentioned something about warming up in martial arts. That's a key thing, right? We have to warm up. There's no nothing. You
Mhm.
go, to the dojo, you're warming up, you're stretching, you're getting nicely, all loose before you even get into the action. But people, you see them like cold turkey. They come in, drop a couple of weights on a bar, and they start going to work. And yes, I mean, maybe when you're 20, you may not feel the pain. Although I see injuries at early age, it's a big deal. It's happening. It's not unheard of. And but again, even if you don't see it, the damage is slowly building up. Eventually, at a certain point, when you hit the 40s, your bones are not happy, your
Mhm.
muscles are not happy, nothing is about to be happy with you. And it could be too late. So by the way, that's funny that you said you went to the bikers gym. I mean, I'm sure those guys could be very intimidating, huge.
Oh man, it was great. It was great. I was in my 20s, early 20s on college, and I used to just enjoy going there because it was just fun. It was just They didn't talk to me, they didn't bother me. They were nice guys. They were just, but they were very 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 competitive. But as you were just saying before about the karate, and karate is discipline. It's really, you are disciplined. That's why you go in there, you stretch prior, and you thank everybody at the end. It's very disciplined, and that's the thing that you see in gyms. People aren't, again, I'm generalizing, but a lot of people aren't disciplined. They go in there, just don't warm up. They just go in there, just throwing the weights up. And part of discipline and part of a karate is correct form. You used to practice a same kick over and over again. Another type of injury I see often in people in the gym who use bad form. They're not squatting properly. They're not doing, and they're hurting themselves that way. Under the weights, when you're using weights, if you use good form after warming up, it's the great thing. But if you do just one bad form squat, one bad form, bench press, you could hurt your shoulder, you could hurt your back, you could hurt anything. So so that's the thing about martial arts we just talked about. It's the discipline, and you need that same discipline. Discipline, not just going to the gym, 4 times a week, but being disciplined while in the gym, doing the right stretches, doing the right form, asking someone for a spot. Yeah. So it's
Well,
yeah.
well, doctor, thank you. It's funny because form. I mean, we hear the term of kata, for example, right?
Mhm.
You mentioned black belt. I mean, during the belt test, it was 3 days camp, and we've done some katas maybe like 100 times per, just as a form, right? The movement that you said, the repetition on every movement, blocks, kicks, punches, thousands of times until, like, I mean, it's got to be like fluid. I mean, it's got to be perfect. All that stuff is, to your point, discipline, but also the proper form. You're not going to hurt. Now, I give you something I see a lot of it, in people, throwing kicks at bags, especially roundhouses. They throw a roundhouse, they lock the other knee, and literally they don't rotate the other one, they don't pivot, and boom, there goes the knee. I mean, or they go into those heavy bags that are literally for boxing, not for kicking, and
Mhm.
then you start putting a lot of resistance on your knee. Yeah, maybe as a younger person, you're not gonna feel that impact, but as you get older, that's just not good. It's gonna kill your knees, and now eventually you might need some surgery or some other interventions. Not good for you. And those are some of the things that I've observed. I've seen people, to your point, like, picking up weights and putting the wrong form, squatting with a bar and putting it on their neck and injuring their neck. Now, I mean, it's all kind of crazy stuff, right? And again, it's hard to talk to people, but I love, these types of discussions. Hopefully we can, give some guidance to folks that are watching or listening. It is for your own good, folks, just to do the right thing, because pain is a problem. I think I started with, your work is to keep people away from pain, and to remove them from having such, because living with pain is not fun, and then you get drugged with with that, and that also has some bad, outcomes, because it destroys other organs, and has side effects. So it's a
Mhm.
it's a bad deal. But so let's talk about that. Working naturally with people to get them from a point of damage, pain, to a point of health and vitality. How does that look, in actual the real world with your work?
Well, with my work is, let's assume someone's not using any medication. They're not on any muscle relaxants. So if someone, depending on what the issue is, if it's a tight muscle, we work to loosen the muscle. There are different types of therapies I can do to help kind of loosen the muscle up. Give them some stretching to do at home. Have them come back, and then we'll work the next step, then further. Whether it be therapies, whether it be an adjustment, whether it be, depending what it is, but it's using their body which your body will naturally heal if given the right circumstances. Again, if you've had an injury where you've torn a muscle, if you tear a rotator cuff, nothing's going to fix that. But if it's a strained rotator cuff, it's tendonitis, the tissue's all there, your body will heal, and it's just giving it the right properties to allow it to heal. That's really what a lot of what I'm doing in my office. The patient comes in, we assess, we evaluate. I look at if they have any films, I don't have any films, whether we need to send them out, and then we come up with a plan. And then that plan is to take them from point A to point Z. And part of that process is to get them. I always tell them my objective is to get you back on the field, back into whatever, back to work, whatever it is. We want to get you there, but just follow the steps, and that's just generally the course. And we adapt and move depending if something's fix going. doing better or not doing better, we can adapt and change the course of the treatment.
Thank you. So just one thing that as you were talking, that just flashed in my brains right now, as you know, in reference to working out and injury. Do you recommend to people uh, using machines versus weights, free weights, and you know, because I see little safety more with the use of machines if used properly versus the free weights and all the stuff. I mean, you're gonna need a spotter. You need, you know, assistant.
Mhm.
What is your actual recommendation as an actual provider for people that actually that are listening um, to avoid some serious, you know, injuries and certainly, like you said, the rotator cuff that's a painful. I mean, I had a frozen shoulder one time and it was a painful thing. That's what they
Mhm.
call it, frozen shoulder, right? Like you
Yeah.
cannot move your. Oh, that
Mhm.
was brutal, man. It was like it took me about a few months actually with therapy to actually get
Yeah.
my arm up to a certain level.
Yeah, it's tough. But to answer your question, I recommend. I like free weights. Free weights also work the small muscles. They work the proprioceptive muscles. When you're using a machine, you're not using these small proprioceptive muscles. You're not developing them. You could have, you're right. The safety wise, that if you get under a bar, the bar can come down and you don't have a spotter. I mean, free weights with some smarts, basically. But you can get under a Smith machine, which is a bench press, and if you don't lock it, the thing can come down on you too. If you're using the same Smith machine, if you're squatting on it and you're putting your knees and forward of your toes or something, you can hurt your knees, you can hurt your back. So you can hurt yourself in both of them. But I just like the free weights. I like the free range of motion as opposed to being locked in. Say if you're doing curls or doing something along those lines. I like the free range of motion. I like to use it to developing the proprioceptive muscles, the small muscles too. So I'd recommend that. But it's better to do machines if that's all you have than do nothing.
Thank you. That's actually very nice. You know, clarification. I mean, for those of us watching and listening right now, yeah. I mean, so both can be damaging. Both can have problems. Yes, I mean, it does give you the perception that the machines are safer. One is, as Doctor mentioned, that we may not have that extra work, but also the risk is still there. So we just have to take caution as us. Thank you for clarifying that because I see people doing all both sides, and I mean, I personally do both, but I do a lot more machines now that I'm a little older than when when I was much younger. But I do a lot of body weight too, like
Yeah.
just push-ups and other things, which is basically that's martial arts
Body weight is
101. I
great.
mean,
Yeah. Body weight is great. I highly recommend that too. Yes.
well, thank you. Well, so now let's talk about that. So age. I mean, the average person, male, I think, is in the 70s mark, and the women are in the 80s. That's just what the statistics say. Of course, we are seeing people in the 90s and even hitting the 100 mark. But when you hit the 40, basically 45, is you're already on the peak.
Sadly.
I mean, that's the reality of things, folks.
Mhm.
I came to that realization myself, a few years back,
Mhm.
and I know the difference between before 45 and after 45 in your health. At least in mine, I know, like I joke about it. I have pains that I never experienced before, and I don't know where they come from. You
Is
wake
it
up in the
true?
morning, there's something new.
Mhm.
But so let's talk about that. Like, before, what are some of your advices? I mean, obviously you wrote a book and fitness over 50, 60, 70 and beyond.
Mhm.
A lot of people today are not as fit as they need to be. A lot of people, I mean, we're talking about maybe a percentage that goes to the gym and carries weights and stuff like that. But a lot of people actually, we see, I mean, there's a topic of obesity, there's a topic of overweight now that's going on. There's a lot of diseases out there. But really, as we age, things are not the same. Our metabolism is different. Our nutrition intake, and needs are different. Everything's different. So let's talk about the science, of aging and how it all impacts us as humans, and what can we do before hitting the 50 mark to get us healthy to the 50s and beyond, which is
Yeah.
your core of work in the
Yeah.
book.
As you said, as we get older, our metabolism changes. I mean, our body stops making certain chemicals, certain hormones, and we need to do things to offset that. Exercise is one of the best things, especially when it comes to, like, say, male testosterone. They're showing that male testosterone levels begin to decrease, even it could be in your 30s. So, working out, weightlifting helps to maintain those levels. And the decrease in testosterone really adds to the decrease in aging in men. The same with too, women. Obviously, their metabolism is different. They go through a different type of change, but exercising for them too. also allows them to kind of fight and combat. And the important thing too is eating. When you're younger, you can go, you can have a whole box of donuts. When you're older, you have one donut and you're wiped out for a day. But there's a reason for that. Your body just has changes. So there are things you could do, such as staying away from the sugars, supplementing when necessary. There's this chemical in our body called CoQ10, coenzyme Q10, and it's really important for our energy levels in our body. As we get over 40, that level begins to drop. It's found in a part of the cell called the mitochondria, which is sort of it's known as the powerhouse of the cell, where a lot of the energy is formed. And to me, it's important for as you age to supplement with CoQ10. They have found research has shown that by supplementing CoQ10, you can help heart health. You can help your energy, and there are also some studies are showing, which I've documented in my book. Some studies are showing that people on who take cholesterol medications need to supplement CoQ10 because it wipes it out, and even people who are on who are in chemotherapy, that they found because chemo is very toxic to the heart. That the supplementing CoQ10 helps to keep that heart strong. So there are different things that happen throughout the body as we age, and it's fighting, it's combating it, supplementing, it's the exercising, it's eating right. All of us will have an off day. We'll have a holiday. We'll have a birthday. We'll just have an off day. The key thing is the next day, just get back. Don't get down on yourself. Don't get depressed. Don't say, "Oh, it's just different things you can do." And I talk in my book about how to recover from those types of days too, to keep yourself on that track. I mean, nobody's perfect, but it's just that you're looking at the overall where you want to be in health, and just following those simple guidelines of nutrition, even things such as sleep, trying to get enough sleep, supplements, exercise, and in positive state of mind. And it will make a difference. It will make a difference. And those are the items I find that are important to help combat that thing. And I use the example too. If you've ever seen a salmon, they swim upstream. Fighting your health, keep yourself healthy as you age you're a salmon. You're fighting upstream. Your body wants to decay, and you're fighting that. So that's what I profess. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, just as you stated that, kind of visualize that. I mean, it does feel that way actually.
Yeah.
It's like every day you're just like, you got to get up and do better and kind of keep up. But
Mhm.
it takes, again, it goes back to that discipline word. It's not easy. We need to be disciplined to actually maintain, at all times. But doctor, you referred to a couple of things. One is in terms of training, obviously resistance training, building up and, keeping those muscles up, testosterone, all the stuff, you know, levels have to be there to keep up. But nutrition is a big piece of this, and you kind of alluded in a couple of ways. But now let's talk about the, I guess, the elephant in the room. Today's nutrition is really bad. I mean, you mentioned donuts. I mean, that just, maybe the goodies that, that sometimes you want
Mhm.
to, but really our food, has, I think, changed, over the decades. And
A lot.
now people exact a lot. So there you go.
Mhm.
And I think it's a bad impact, like people that were, and we see this, people who live in natural live in more nature, eating from fresh stuff and farm stuff, they tend to be healthier overall. And I mean, you just mentioned a key element of nutrient that you have to supplement. Just to taking statins and any of that stuff, it's going to deplete your abilities to actually build better. But that's nobody knows about these things. I mean, the public doesn't know about this. It's not like there's enough education. To be honest with you, my mom was diabetic. She had stuff. I never heard about this from my provider, or her provider rather, because never told her like we need to supplement you with this because we need to support your heart and this and the other.
Mhm.
So sometimes that could be a problem. If we're not aware, we're not going to do the right thing. And the nutrients out there are just depleted. I mean, we do hear that the soils are not producing enough minerals
Exactly.
and stuff. So let's talk about that and the quality of supplementation, because again, that's another topic that's big. I mean, we hear a lot of supplements, but like, where do we get the good stuff? I mean, doctor, I know you probably addressed this in your book, but let's talk about those elements, because for the normal person, they may just go pick up something at a Walmart, Walgreens, or something. Is that even sufficient? Is that the right stuff? Is there a particular dosage that we need to? Does that vary by age? I mean, 50 to 60 to 70 can be a big difference in terms of what you need. So let's talk about some of the technical piece of this.
Yeah, as you mentioned, our today's agricultural practices strip the soil of a lot of its nutrients. So a lot of those nutrients aren't getting into the foods, whether it be the vegetables that grow and the fruits, or the animals that eat those vegetables and fruits are not getting those nutrients either. Our practices of how we like most animals are fed on corn, and so they're not today they're not getting the nutrients in them. So even eating the animals, however you eat, you're just not getting that full nutrition. So it's important to supplement that just alone, just for that. And the processed foods in today's diet is just it's just not good at all. If you really want to shock yourself, watch a video on different foods that are processed and different and see that they're stripped of so much stuff. One of the big topics today are seed oils. And in theory, a seed oil is a polyunsaturated fat. But if you saw how they strip it, they bleach it, and how it's processed, it's not conducive to natural health at all. So I think supplementing is important for that. I'm not going to recommend any brands of supplements, but it's good to study. I break down in my book a good way to eat, a good way to take supplements. And there are fat solubles and there are water soluble supplements. And it's good to have the fat soluble supplements with foods that might have some fat in it, whether it be vegetable fat, be avocados or meats. And water soluble are good to eat with things that are when you're not eating fats. They get digested and absorbed into your body better. I'm not a proponent of a multivitamin. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just not a proponent of it because I just feel it's just a mixture of fats and water solubles, and they get in. I don't need to see more studies on how much of that really gets into your system and how much of that just goes to waste. So it's important to supplement because of our agricultural practices, because of our processed foods and the way that they do processing food. It's good for that. It's also good as we age because we're losing again, like I said, CoQ10. We're losing our hormonal or changes. So it's really good just to keep and maintain that. And to address something that you said earlier, as we age and if we are exercising, it's hard. It's you're swimming upstream, but when you're 2 years in, 3 years in, 4 years in, if someone has exercised, it's easier than someone who hasn't. So it makes so the whole process becomes more of an easier, more of a you're still fighting the aging process. You still got to get yourself you're motivated to get yourself to the gym, but it is easier because your body is cleaner because you've stayed away from the sugars that are very toxic. And so it's that process. And so it's the nutrition process, the supplement process, it's the exercising. And to go back to what I just said about sugar, that's one of the most toxic, not the natural sugars, but the stuff they put in the
Defying.
candy. Yeah, like the donuts. Well, that is toxic to your body.
Oh, doctor, the inflammation level that we get from all these foods that are available readily and easily accessible, how do we deal with that?
And it slows you down. It makes it elevates the chance the whole process of
Doctor, you broke up.
I'm here. You here now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, okay.
That's okay. It happens.
Right.
We're on a Zoom. It can happen, right? But
Yeah,
but yeah, but so you're talking about like the poison, the sugars that are available to us. Very nasty stuff causes massive inflammation. I think that's the biggest problem that we
yeah.
have is that inflammation. And can you doctor just expand on that word? Because I mean, we kind of know what it is, but we don't. Do we really understand it? What can how can you easily explain it from a medical aspect of it? What is inflammation? How does it impact your muscles, your bones, and your joints?
Yeah, we have inflammation. Your body is always fighting something else. If it's fighting the inflammation, it can't work on repair. It can't work on healthy tissue. It's just fighting this inflammation. It can cause early arthritis. It can cause damage to your organs. So just in a general sense, anything you eat that's toxic can cause inflammation. and your body has to expend more energy fighting it as to fighting anything else, even fighting immune issues. So it's just an extra layer of toxicity that causes this, that puts our body into a pace it shouldn't be.
But again, doctor, you referred to, unfortunately, I mean, besides the soils that are depleted, the food, the corn business that that we're in, and also the oils that are pretty much, I mean, a lot of fried food around. I mean, and it's very common in our digs,
Yeah.
at least in the States. That's a big deal. You know, we have a lot of that. The So those are all triggers or catalysts, I would say, to just bad formulas that can impact us, you know, in as we age. And by the way, one of the companies I worked for the longest was the Visit Nurses Service of New York. So we dealt a lot with the elderly and the frail, and you
Mhm.
can see that, you know, a lot of folks, you know, that did not take care of themselves, you know, when they're younger, whether physically and also from a nutritious aspect, or you know, just a health and food, thing. You know, they do have all these, I guess, illnesses that are very impactful to their health, and so therefore they are just experiencing a very bad aging. So what are some of the, I guess, the techniques or things that we need? I mean, so we talked about, you know, food, nutrition, workout. You mentioned something about sleep. How important is the level of sleep that we get, you know, in terms of body restoration and just keeping up in shape?
Yeah, it's big. I mean, sleep is really especially important for the brain. The brain controls everything. So, and sleep is when the brain resets, heals, and moves on. And living the fast-paced, stressful life of people not getting enough sleep is that's extremely detrimental. Um, Sitting is detrimental, but not getting this proper sleep is detrimental to them. By I say sitting, I mean sitting for hours upon time. Folks who work in offices and don't get up. Um, so those are the incidental things that adversely affect health, that are not often thought about. The exercise and food stuff we talk about, but it's important that sleep. Now, if sleep, I've spoken to, again, some patients who say, "Well, I can't sleep. I can't sleep." So we try to give them techniques, we try to give them ideas, try to give them ways to sleep. Actually, one of my treatment rooms, we treat them with a slip disc, this machine. I shut the lights off and let them sleep for a half hour. I mean, it's not going to fulfill them, but it's completely, but it just gives them a little something to help them heal. But
Power nap.
yeah, exactly, whatever they need. But it's there to help for health.
Well, you know, I mean, sadly, our lifestyles have changed a lot now. I mean, also we're exposed to a lot of, I guess, blue lights through our phones and, you know, tech. I mean, that is, I mean, I call us, you know, I mean, I call some of us today like human zombies. I mean, everybody. I mean, yeah, I watch people on the street. I mean, like, what the hell's going on? I mean, they're literally across the street watching, looking at their phone. I mean, they're one hand humans. I mean, the other one hand is not operational. It's always like, you know, attached
Mhm.
to their phone, and they're just walking. And so people sleep with those things. I mean, I have this problem with my own kid.
Mhm.
Like he would sleep next to his phone, and you know, the phone is up, and you know, he'll wake up, and the phone picks up again. It's These are some of the things that we have now that we haven't seen maybe decades back, and I think that is also contributing to some of the challenges we have in terms of keeping a vital level of energy at, you know, as we age. And or do you think that the elder, you know, I guess, pool of folks today are not as bad because they have not adapted to maybe to technology? Is that even a thing?
What they're not as, I would say, as addicted to it. I mean, they didn't grow up with it. I mean, I didn't grow up with it. It's something that we had to. It's not our first language. It's our second language. We had to learn it with the
I
kids
love that.
today. Yeah, so the kids today are completely. It's their thing, but it also adds to the level of stress. There's no downtime. I mean, if you watch, even in my house, I watch my family watching TV, and also as soon as the TV's off, and as soon as the TV goes to commercial, they're down the phone. So your mind is there's no downtime for the mind. It's constantly moving. It's constantly active. It's constantly being bombarded with messages. And again, you mentioned the blue light, the whatever radiation may or may not be coming off these things. It just affects us constantly. And there's sometimes it's just good to just stop. Just relax, and just let your body heal. Let your body just be calm. Just be let your body be quiet. And there's something to say about that. There's something to say about people who meditate, people who just go for walks and clear their mind. But again, if you're walking and you're looking at your phone, you're not really clearing your mind.
I see that a lot, man. Driving or even walking. I don't get it. Like I swear, like I don't. I mean, just you're doing chores, but one hand is busy. I don't know how you maneuver all the stuff. I mean, to me, it's just I can't get. Listen, I'm in social media. I'm all over the place, but I do have my limits and I know how to control it, to a
Mhm.
degree. But I just find fascinating that people are just not, and they're very active. It's like an addiction, just like any other drug that's out there. This is just another one that we have, and there's a lot of talk about it scientifically and
But yeah,
mental wise, it's big.
you go next time you go to a restaurant, take a look at the people that they have their phones on the table. As they're sitting there talking, it's like I have you and I have this other option. It's put the phone away. Be present with where you're at. And
Should
that's
ban that. They
important.
should ban phones at restaurants. Like,
Yeah.
you drop them. There are actually restaurants that have that where they have a bag that you just drop all the phones. Some people do that in the family, dinners and stuff.
Mhm.
But I think that's the people that are aware. But in general, we're these all these new habits between the bad food and stuff. And so I think the new generation is gonna have a tougher time, as they age. I mean, I just think that's a fact. I mean, I may be wrong. I hope I am wrong. Someone could say, well, you're an idiot, hurricane, because you're insulting us. But all I'm saying is we would love the best for everyone. That's what we do these shows, is to actually bring the message. But maybe sometimes we have to hit hard home to wake up some people, like, this could be a big risk if you don't take care of yourself now. I mean, they do
Mhm.
say if you don't, take care of your health now, you're gonna take care of your sick,
Yeah.
time. So whatever the expression is, I mean, you make time for your health now or make time for your sickness or illness later. So
Mhm.
it's a choice, but it's a tough place. But so let's talk about something, doctor. There's a big misconception about as you age. I mean, people think like, I'm aging, I can't do anything, I can't work out, it's too late, I can't build that muscle, I cannot, my energy is not there. Obviously, there's some changes, but is that really an excuse, or is that the truth? I mean, because I think I've seen some super, you know, elderly folks that are like happy, social, dancing, and bulky too.
No, that's an excuse. I hate to say it, but I'll give an example. In my book, I talk about a lady who, her name was Joan Campbell. At the age of 59, she began to exercise. Never exercised before, but she wanted to keep up with her kids. So she started swimming. This was at 59 she started. And by the time, as she continued to age and continued to swim, she began to enter contests and races and matches and meets. And by the time she was in her 90s, she was swimming, I think it was 1,500 meters in under an hour in her 90s. Didn't start working out until she was 59 years old. So you always can do it. I also talk about somebody else in my book. This one particular person named is Jim, who happens to, we used to see him all the time in the gym when we used to work out, and he was paralyzed from the waist down, but he was in the gym all the time working out. And he didn't want any sympathy. He just would go in there and work out. Sometimes he needed us to help him kind of move a machine around or something along those lines, which we readily did. But it can be done, no matter what your situation is. Even if you're older and you really can't, you just maybe not as mobile. There's chair aerobics. There's water aerobics. There's all types of things you can do within your limit, but you still can exercise. And what I talk about in my book is exercising, eating is not going to guarantee you to live to 100, but it will allow you to live whatever your genetics allow you to get the largest expression out of that, the largest amount of years out of that, and get and to be active during those years. I mean, look at someone like Chuck Norris, who just passed away. I refer to him in my book, and he exercised to the end. His genetics may have only taken him to 86, but 86, and he was healthy, happy his whole life. Jack LaLanne, another person, exercised his whole life. He lived up to 98, healthy. He didn't get sick until his last week before he died. That's what I'd like to see for people. Just to live, to be there, to be that grandparent that can have the catch in the park, not have to just sit in the sidelines. To be that grandmother who can run around and play with the kids, as opposed to not. So that's the objective, is to allow your natural genetics express themselves to their fullest. If you're meant to live X amount of years, then live those X amount of years in a full, healthy capacity. Don't cut it down. Don't like you said, you mentioned your mom passed. I'm very sorry to hear about that. My dad passed a few years back at age 68, and I felt there was more expression he could have. I mean, he didn't take care of himself the way I did, and so you can. I see that. I've seen some examples again. People who live longer, people don't live longer. People who and it just so the impetus of my book is just it's a basic book. It's not for the advanced exercise enthusiasts, but might get something out of it when it comes to some of the supplements, some of the other things. Is to just get yourself started, get yourself walking, get yourself breathing fresh air, exercise, stretch those muscles, pump that blood, get those metabolites moving back to the heart, into the liver, and out of your body. That's really what the impetus of this is. And your there's a loaded question you asked whether it was whether this was an excuse or not excuse, but I feel it's an excuse. Do something. If you don't want to, that's your choice. This is we have free choice, but not for yourself, for somebody who loves you.
Well, thank you, Doc. I love how you presented this, and the example of Chuck Norris and Jack Lane. The concept of aging, right? I mean, we're all gonna live what's meant to be lived, right? I mean, for most of us, we believe that there's a time and and a
Mhm.
place, and you're gonna depart this world and transit to the next one. I mean, for those of us that believe, and
Yeah,
if we don't believe, that's a different story. It's all good. We-
next
we-
podcast.
no judgment there. But the concept is, how do you leave it, right? I mean, to your point, do I get the maximum output, and enjoyment of those years, or I'm gonna like live miserable, and there's an actual video that's on social media that always pops up every now and then. I see it where they show you like two people, same age, and one is getting ready to run and the other one is getting ready to get, on a wheelchair. Sad video, but it shows you, like, choose which is your bad, right? Or your good, or your poison, whatever the case may be, which
Mhm.
direction you want to be. And I think that's a choice we have to make as individuals. To your point, you mentioned something like you want to be the guy that's happy, or the gal that's happy with the grandkids and active. And I mean, some people don't even have the strength to work with their own kids, let alone grandkids. But that's the thing. Like, you want to be. I mean, I see. Listen, I'm a father. As you age, it's a little harder to actually take care of. If I have a baby now, it's going to be a little tough.
Yeah.
I think I can handle them, but it's not the same. Your energy, your mood, you're just not the same. That's just a simple thing. However, can I still do activities with my kids and have fun, and we can do all kind of stuff. I still go to the gym, and that's the other thing. You referred to something, the gentleman that was in the gym, working out every day. Sometimes you added also the idea of some other types of aerobics, right? That you can do in water and so on and so forth. So there's not one way to do this. It doesn't mean that you have to go bulky and go work out in the gym and get ripped, but movement, I think it's one. I think that's what you're really referring to, is more of action and mobility than just being stagnating, sitting, just stale somewhere, not making any movement.
Yeah, if I could, my chapter on exercise is titled "Movement is Life," and it's all about you nailed it 100%. It's all about movement. It doesn't have you don't have to go to gym. You can, like I said, you can walk around the block, whatever chair aerobics, exercise, all different types of things you can do. There's no one, and I break it down in my book. I say it's for beginners. In that chapter, I talk about so many different types of exercises and just options and choices that you can make to breathe and to move and get your joints moving. You got to get your blood pumping.
What's your frequency advice? I mean, is it like 3 times a week, 4 times a week, half hour a day? How what we I mean, to each his own, but what is the sweet spot for people at as they age, to just get some movement? Because again, I mean, we don't have to be sitting. And by the way, I've seen this in social settings, in senior centers, adult daycares. The folks that are like dancing and making moves, and salsa, merengue, all kind of stuff. Doing some land dancing. They're very active. They look good. They're very they look very young. And I mean, really impressive. But those that are not active, I mean, you can see the ages touching on them. And it's just a very difficult place to be, I think, when you have the option. So what's your advice on that? I mean, is that in the book too, or just maybe we can just talk about it?
Yeah, no, I'd like to see 4 times a week, maybe 1 day a week, do a stretching, just do some stretching, just basic stretching. Your body needs to repair. So it's, in the most basic form, weightlifting is ripping and repairing. You're micro tearing and you're repairing. And it's anytime you're building muscle or strengthening muscle, that's basically what you're doing. You're micro tearing, and you need to repair. Um, if you're going to be doing weightlifting, each body part twice a week. If you're going to be doing, even if you're doing something like chair aerobics, just I would say twice a week, then 2 other days a week do something else. I mean, and also I'm not at all discounting. Some people have got very difficult lives. There are some people who work a lot of hours and they just don't have the time for it. But there are things you can do. Walk home from work, um, the day off, or just with do some sit ups if you have the opportunity. Just do some push ups. Finding out those spots here and there. It actually will help you by doing those exercises to get a better sleep and to repair. So again, I'm not discounting. Some people do have very difficult lives, and I am compassionate, and understanding of that. But 4 times a week, a sweet spot, 4 times a week with one stretch. If you can only do 3 times, that's better than doing 2 times or 1 time. So it's
Well, doctor, so I mean, this is the most common excuse is I don't have time, right? And
Mhm.
we hear that in everything. I mean, listen, we do. My wife and I, we've had we have a fitness brand, so we hear this a lot. Where people tell like, oh, I just don't have time to work out, or I don't have time to do this. I mean, even if we take 8 hours sleep and we do work the 8 hour shift, you still got 8 hours to yourself. I mean, half hour should be something you can carve out. It's for your own good. It's like we do carve out time to eat. We do carve
Mhm.
out time to go to the bathroom. We do
Yeah,
carve out to do a lot of stuff, but why not a half hour to an hour? And I think that's really the challenge. But you're right. I mean, yes, and again, we don't generalize. I mean, some people may have double jobs. I mean, the economies these days can be difficult. But either way, to your point, at work, I mean, obviously, if you have a physical work, a job that is physical, then you're actually exercising, by default because you're doing the work. But if you're sitting behind a desk for 8 hours, I mean, they have these what do you call ergonomic, desk, whatever the mobile
standing in
ones. You can
chest. Mhm.
stand in chair. Yeah. So you have all these things that you can do. You can actually on your break, you can take a walk. And I see this in corporate people just get their lunch break, and they just walk around the perimeters if the weather obviously permits. But I mean, there's different things, right? You go to the parks, you see people actually doing stuff. Like you see some people doing tai chi, some people are doing, yoga, stretching. But I think we all have at least the ability to do something. We just have to be motivated in a way. And I think motivation is just the kick, but really the discipline part has to come along with it, which we talked about earlier. But at the end of the day, to your point, Doug, your advice is really movement, at least 4 times a week, with a diversified version of that. So not the same thing. So we need to recuperate and recover and allow muscles to actually kind of take their time to repair. Which, by the way, we see a lot of people go to gym 7 days a week and just keep building up. We could like there's no tomorrow, but then things happen, and again you might never work out again if you actually have a bad hurt, right? So thank you for that, Doc. Now let's just talk about the book itself. How can people get it? Where is it available? And also how people can work with you as a provider.
Yeah, the first step I'd say is my website. I consider it like my home base. It's Dr. Mguad, DRMGUAD.com. From there, you can find I'm very active social media. I have a very active Instagram, which kind of piggybacks onto my Facebook page. I'm very active there. I blog once a week. You can from my website you can sign up to receive my blog once a week. It's a blog. It's more than just a blog. It's like almost like a newsletter. And my book is on Amazon. Fitness over 50. It's right there. 50, 60, 70, and beyond. Again, it's a good book for a beginner or someone who wants to learn how to get fit, become healthy. If I can just digress for a second, I was what was the spark that got me to write this book was during the pandemic. And we saw how people who were physically fit, good weight levels, took care of themselves in my age group and older, did better in during the pandemic than those who were not, who had all these secondary issues, overweight, diabetes, high blood pressure. So that's maybe think about how can I get this message out to people that God forbid something that should happen again, or just regular life. So I wrote the book trying to help. That's what I'm talking. I'm trying to talk to those folks. And then the book became more of just help for almost everybody. It's 50, 60, 70 and beyond, but there's good information, good advice for people. Again, we talk about supplements, which a lot of people don't know you could be in your 20s and not know. I talk about some other fun things such as cold plunges and
Ooh, yeah.
saunas and that type of stuff. Some people don't find cold plunges fun, but
I tried them. Yeah, it's too
good
intense.
stuff.
But saunas, that's my favorite thing. I love saunas. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's not.
sauna and steam room, it's a cool place. If you have access to them, I don't know what's the medical advice from you, but as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I just enjoy those things.
It's
It's a
great.
good time.
No, it's great. Yeah. So I talk about things like that. And I mentioned I don't talk about smoking because I don't talk about the obvious. I mean, we're talking about things that are not obvious. So it's that type of book. So it's really good. It's on Amazon. You can find it. Find it. Just search Amazon Fitness over 50, 60, 70 and beyond. And again, my website. If they want some information on me, if they want to contact me, there's my emails on there. And yeah, that's how I reach out to people.
Well, thank you, Doc. It's funny. We talked about stretching. Actually, I do something. I go to sauna before I hit the gym. Like I spend 10, 15 minutes. I warm up there, stretch there. So
Mhm.
actually it helps me like really get out, nice and ready. Because sometimes these gyms are super cold, like they like, the AC is pumping,
The
and
full
I can't
muscle.
stand, yeah, no, yeah, that's too cold for me. So I kind of get in, get a little sweat, going on, a little stretch and come out. And it works for me. And I also do it after I finish. So I go back and just do my post and it's nice. I mean, again, it's just my personal preference, but it does work, miracles. I mean, you sweat it out, you get rid of that extra salt, sodium,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call your
Lactic
body.
acid. Mhm.
Yeah, all the toxin stuff goes out. I mean, it's got stuff. But so, doctor, there's one question that kind of just clicked as as you were talking. Um, I know everybody as young as they start, alcohol is part of some of the culture, stuff. And does it have an impact on your not so much just aging, but also your muscles, your bone, your joints, and all the stuff. I mean, just from a technical aspect, because there are a lot of studies. I hear this all the time now. There's a lot more people coming out with alcohol is the worst thing for your brain, for this, for that, the other. Is there a correlation to the actual, I guess, problems that occur in the actual skeleton and the structure of the body? Then also, is there something that affects the aging process?
Yeah, the hard truth is yes, it does. I actually talk about that too in my book a little bit. I basically say I'm just going to give you the facts. You make whatever choices you want to make. I'm not being judgmental. That's the whole book is all about making your choices. I mean, that's why I believe in free will. And here's if you wish to choose the free will for this, it's there. But yeah, alcohol definitely does. Alcohol affects everything. There's enough studies out there now that shows it affects the immune system, affects the brain, affects the aging, affects muscles, affects repair, affects everything. And in the obvious, the liver it affects. Even a little bit affects your body. But yeah, you make the choice how you wish to live, and but it's there. Yeah, that's the answer to your question. The studies are there.
Well, again, the reason I asked is just like again, I'm just like you, Doc. We just want to kind of throw it out there, let people whatever they
Mhm.
make out of it, it's on them.
And they
But at
should know.
least
They should know. People should know to make those choices. Yeah.
I mean, to your point, it's a free world, right?
Mhm.
To each his own. You have to cause and effect, right? Whatever you do,
Yeah.
you're gonna deal with it. We just hope that you do the right thing, and the right thing could be, this or could be whatever your preference is. But at the end of the day, at least the message there, and people have to know. I think awareness and enlightenment education on certain things is just the key here. But that's what you've tried to do with your book, and I want to thank you for that. I mean, and by the way, you hit on something big. The pandemic was a big deal. Mentally, physically, taxing on a lot of people, and I think the people that actually did take that care of themselves, they were able to go out and walk and do a lot of exercise, or at least stay active. They
Hmm.
tended, I mean, tendencies, or at least statistically speaking, they were better off, throughout that time and less impacted with the actual disease itself. And of course, I mean, there's always cases here and there that we hear about the offshoots, but at the end of the day, a better, stronger body is usually a better body to actually tackle a lot of things. I mean, even if you get a cold, if your immune system is kicking and everything's, and by the way, like everything that you talk about in the book that we kind of cover today, does impact on how your system is operating, right? You're optimized, and if you optimize, your fighting, capabilities are stronger than someone who's not. It's just a simple thing. It's not rocket science. But so I want to thank you, Doctor, for really, for the book, for coming out and the show, and for sharing some of your expertise and your stories. But so there's one question that's any story that actually really made a difference for you that you might have referred to in a book. I mean, obviously Chuck Norris, and you refer to those, but those are different contexts. But like somebody that you've seen throughout exercise and changing and getting fit, really changing their lives.
Uh, I've had patients who I've seen who've been in really not good shape, and then something happened and then it sparked to them, and it not only and then I see their lives change. It not only affects me, it only justifies what I do or justifies how I live. It kind of holds myself accountable that all right, what I'm saying is right. What I'm saying is works. And that's the thing, because when you throw these things out there, you say these things right, either by a book, even before that I wrote a book. Obviously, I've been practicing for 30 something years, but I've been still these are things I've preached for years, and see it actually take place and come to fruition. It really does. It holds you accountable that okay, what I've said it works. I have to keep on doing this, and it comes down to their that person's um their integrity to what they did for themselves, but it's the message was there and the message worked. And that's to me, that justifies why I went into and did and do what I do.
Thank you, Dr. Sharon. And also, it's amazing that you were able to help some people turn a new leaf and live
Mhm.
better. I mean, that's got to be a good feeling, whenever you do something right and help others, and you can see the results. I mean, that's got to be fulfilling, and just a good high, a
Oh,
good
for
high,
sure.
literally.
Sure. Thank you.
uh, all right. Well, listen, Doug, thank you so much for the time, for being with us and sharing. Anything you want to leave our audiences with before we close today?
No, I appreciate you giving me the time. I hope your audience, our audience today, enjoyed it. And if you just make that one change in your life, if you just make one simple change today, a little change today, over a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, a month, you could be in such a different place and a better place. And no matter what it is in your life, it could be health, it could be fitness, it could be state of mind, it could be mental wellness, it could be your career. Just make that little change, that little dial change today, and you start walking in a different path. And freedom and happiness are all there waiting for you.
That's it. Well, by the way, you're right. This is our audience. It's actually your audience because mi casa es su casa. And now that we are connected, your work is going to be reshared, of course, through to our network. Just not beyond the show, of course. And yes, I mean, folks, this is it. This is the end of the show. I hope that there's quite a few things here. If it's not for you, there's definitely something here for someone that you love that you might want to share. And of course, do check out the description of the show because we'll have the link, where you can actually access Doctor and the book. And that's it. I'm Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show on the topic. Bye for now.